Hello and welcome to Dale's Gaming, and it is the From the Depths designer, and we are at the last of the epic build videos. So this again, as explanation, is a real-time look at how I built through various aspects of the Pre-dreadnought, which you can see in the back, just having a bit of a celebratory shoot of all of its guns for no apparent reason other than it felt like it. So in this particular last video we're going through the missile systems and also the defensive systems that I put into the ship. Obviously, as I say, if you don't want these ones, the build videos, I'll be putting a campaign video up next. I've also changed the icon in the thumbnail, so it's got a little red building icon and it'll have a different icon for the campaign fighting videos. As a final one, for those that have actually got this far and watching these type of videos, let me know what you think on this last video. Is it useful? Is it something that you like watching? These aren't designed as a tutorial, just an example, and I'll only do these on the largest final builds of a faction. The other question is, I've split this into, I think it's 5 separate little videos. If I did it in one video, it would be about 2.5 hours of a video, even with, if I put time codes into the description, which you can look below. I have put time codes in for the missile systems if you want to jump there, but would that be preferential? I think that would be a bit too long, and these 5 ones would be better, but I may pre-do them and upload them all at the same time rather than this staggered over quite a few hours. So then you can take a choice, watch them all in one go or just pick the one you want to watch. Anyway, let me know down in the comments below, but otherwise let's get on with the build. So after sorting out, I think, all of the guns now, they are now pretty much sorted. I've also added just a little radar dish and worked out some of the internal walking areas, because I like to make the ship as much as possible walk through, but we'll go through that later. Next, what I would like to think about is the next element is missiles. Missiles are very handy. This is mainly a gunboat, obviously with the number of guns I've got on here, but I would also like to use some missiles in a number of situations. I'm thinking 3 types of missiles. A predominantly anti-aircraft missile battery down at the back here. So these will only fire at flyers and will basically be short, medium range, very agile. Then at the front, some slightly short range missiles, just to take out any close range ships, aircraft, etc. at a fairly close range, just to add a little extra to the normal guns and just give us a little bit of accuracy, and maybe take out something where we've got a blind spot, etc. Not particularly long range, and then very long range. I'd like to go to the absolute extreme. So the guns at the moment are set to about 3,000 meters. I'd like to get some missiles going out as far as 5,000, and their primary target will be facilities, very large ships, you know, bombarding things at very long range will be its priority. They can be slow, but they're going to have a reasonable punch and just basically go a very long way. I'm also going to work on a little cover system for them. So first of all, let's work with a simple front short range missile system. Now I'm going to set this up to be on the secondary AA gun system, so it will prioritize small and very close vessels. Now I think we're going to get about a 4-block missile in here, if my calculations have been approximately correct. I want to leave a bit of a gap, but 1, 2, 3, 4, and an ejector. Am I going to get an ejector in here? Not really. Unless I go through. So what I can do here, we'll use a connector on all of them. I can either eject these or let their normal what should we say, normal thruster take them out. Now I like using ejectors because I find that too often, what's the best way of putting it, they get hooked up on something. When they're firing out using their normal thrusters, they seem to go all over the place and not straight up. And as I say, you just seem to get hooked up. So we'll take out this block here and use that for the ejectors. And then we'll do the gantries. Which way should we face them? To the side. And the other ones will face the opposite way. Right, that's 4. I think we'll keep it at a 4 missile, which will only give it a 1 or 2 warheads. But don't need this to be high powerful. Now these are recessed. I've lost it. Come back here. These are recessed so that any sort of like shrapnel and small cannons, unless fired from directly above, are unlikely to destroy components. Because one of the biggest problems with missiles, not a problem, but one of the things to allow for is if they get damaged in any way. Let me just make sure I've got the right here. I need a 4 beam for that. If they get damaged, actually yes, that's even bigger than a 4 beam. Okay, let's put a little block up there. And then they try and fire their missile. Basically what happens is it blows the whole missile bay up. You can put a safety in there, but I don't always like safeties. So I might put a fail-safe in there. We'll see what we come up with. So let's see, standard missile build. Identify friend or foe. Always handy. Don't want to destroy your own people. Staggered fire. I like a staggered, good stagger in case they've got any what should we say, try and think of the right word, any anti-missile. Also, if the explosion from one will not affect the other. Right, now let's just duplicate, won't force the other one to veer off. Okay, so they're there, and now we need an AI. So AI, and if I do want to put a fail-safe on there, which will stop them launching if they're damaged, I will need a block at the back to put it on, which will then stop it. Oh no, that'll be fine. So if I now put an AI local weapon controller in there, and then a radio on top, and then a fail-safe on the side. That hopefully will stop it blowing itself up. Okay, and I want to put this on number 2. Okay, so now the missile itself. Let's have a standard for me. I like variable thrusters over the short range thrusters, although the short range I do quite like them at times to popping up and then firing. So actually we'll go with that. We'll go for the pop-ups because these are going to be short range anyway. So first thing we want to do is have a start delay of 3.5 seconds. So that should mean they'll pop up to their maximum height, then they will thrust out. Now we only need 1 fin. 2 fuel should get it about 900 meters. We need a 1 turn so that it will turn towards the enemy. Won't use target prediction. I think we're going to go for the fact of they may have flares, but we'll assume that they're going to have... We'll overwhelm the flares. Now we're going to set the cone at 120. That means if it goes into something, it'll spread out and take everything. I like, but it also cover behind a little bit, and one explosive because I do like that. One infrared. So that's pretty much standard build on there. So let's do that. Repeat that over here. 3.5 fin, fuel tank, 1 turn, fragment to 120. And we want guidance to be only delayed actually by 5, and we want the warhead delay of 4 seconds, time for it to pop up and do its work. Let's go and change that over here as well. So guidance delay 0.5 and warhead arming delay 4 seconds. Also means if it gets a chance to get away before anything happens. Okay, we'll give one of these a test. If we set it temporarily, where are we? Here, and we can also test the range that way. No, that's not the right one. Down a little bit further. There we go. Controller number 1. If we come off, go to number 1. So lots of testing as always. So first one, let's just make sure it fires. So they're going up, aiming at the target direction, and away they go. That's about okay. That's not too bad. Right, we'll try it again, wait for them to reload, and then we'll check their distance. See what range we're getting. Ready to fire. Firing. Take 1, so it pops up, turns towards the target, and 1,200. So if I set it for 1,000, that's not going to be too bad. So we'll unset that to be on a number, so I won't accidentally fire it again. Where have we gone to? There we go. It's going to have a limit of about 300, I reckon. And we're not going to set any other limits. So next little area for missiles will be air-to-air missiles. So we've got a slightly larger bay here we can use. And I'm just got to work out which way I'm going to do them. Now we'll need to eject them. They'll need to be a little longer. We'll want them recessed again. We've got a little bit of room. We definitely want ejectors to get them out of the way of anything that's above us. Let's just see how big. Now we could do multiple ones here rather than just doing one air-to-air missile. We could have like a multi-range ones. So let's say on the side we have some highly agile ones, and then on the center line we have some longer range, more advanced ones. Yeah, that sounds like a plan. So if I plan to, now these will be short range, but we can have them just recessed quite a bit, so that's fine. We'll link them together here, I think. The idea is I'm going to have one AI for all of these side ones. Now how many have we got? We've got 4 potentially. Can I take that block? I'm going to use that block. I want that space. It didn't open anything up. No, that's fine. That was only using up space. Now, how is this available? Yes, it's not to be in the way. Okay, launch pads. I've got 5. Okay, so we're going to get 10 in there. That's good. Then we'll put the ejectors on the outside. And then we'll put some gantries facing outwards. And that's 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a 5-meter missile. I think that's good enough for a high agility one. Right, let's sort out the other items. I'll turn off the mirror line for this. Right, so we'll need a friend or foe, and we'll need a staggered fire. Good amount of stagger. Then we'll need the controller. Set that to 180 and on 1 just for the moment, and then the AI can go just above this. Again, a fail-safe in case any of the items get destroyed, and a receiver set to 2. So now the missiles themselves. I'm going to use a variable thruster because I want these to go up to quite a high, to ramp up to quite a high speed, and potentially 3 fins. Now, okay, let's start at the other end. These are going to be high speed single, so we could use a single pixel and just a 1 turn, rather than and not use a target prediction. Now we'll put an explosive and a fragmentation at 180. These are, I think, mainly going to be using fragmentation. Let's see, fuel tanks. 1, 2 fuel tanks and the 1 turn. Yeah, I think that will give us quite good. Now let's see, we need a quite a long ramp up, say about 4 seconds, and these will go up to 1500, which is more than 50% more than a thruster will go to. The delay 2 seconds. Yeah, guidance delay, just give them a little bit of a chance to leave the zone, and ejected straight up. So they're mainly these are aimed to go pretty fast. Let's see how far they will actually go. Well, first of all, let's make sure they fire. And we'll fire over there. Yeah, they angle in fairly quickly, which is good. So they turn reasonably quickly at the top because of the free fins. Right, next we will give a range test. So if I fire over that way, and also a speed test. Right, so goes over, velocity 150, 60, 70, 80, 180, and it was about 1200, which is fine. So these would be a maximum. I'm going to give a maximum range of about 800. I think, because I don't want to fire in everything. I only want them when the person's, when the target is pretty close. So here, right, maximum range we'll set at 800. Minimum range I think will be about 200. Closer than that and they won't turn to engage the target properly. Minimum altitude, now this is important, we only want it on flyers, so I'm going to say 20 meters altitude at least, and height, yeah, say 700. Something goes up into space, we've still got a chance, but no block limit, no speed limits. Okay, next missile. Now the next missile, we're going to go a little higher up. we will protect it with some side. Let's see what I can put in here. What am I thinking? What am I thinking? I'm thinking of putting some slope in here, just to act as a protection. I might put them a little higher. There. Let's start that again. Okay. Put that in there, back in there. So I'm thinking this as a protection for the missiles against any little weapons that come in. You know, small weapons. And it also, I like the looks of this. So like that. So we'll have them eject out the top. We'll put another beam in here. I think we'll there, and a block. I haven't put the mirror line on, but it doesn't matter for a second. Right, okay, now, so these are going to be, let's see, we could do a couple of ways. Let's see, these are longer range than they use standard radar, I think, because you might need a, I've got to allow enough for being able to put all my controller and everything in here, because I can't mix it with that controller. So I might be either limited to only having 4 missiles and run the controller up the top, potentially. Let's see, how else could I do this? Or I could put the controller below. Well, I don't really want to do that. Yeah, okay, I think I'll run the controller up the top here. And we'll have one less missile. These are going to be expensive missiles anyway, so unless we don't need as many. Let's see how many we get in. About 7 missile. So these will be long range, but high accuracy is the intention. I'll put a metal block in there just to cover that up. Okay. Ejectors, we have ejectors on either side. So it starts up at a high altitude. And we've got to be careful. We're going to give this a fair bit of control, but let's see, friendly fire that side, and a staggered fire this side, and the controller up top. Yep, and the AI just above it. As always, fail safe, and then the radio. Or number 2. Right. So, quite a big missile we can use here. So my thoughts are variable thruster, 2 fins. It's not to be highly agile. 3 fuel tanks. We'll try with that. Now we're going to have. This will still be an infrared, but we're going to use the wide beam infrared, so it won't have the wobble. An explosive and 2 fragments. So we're going to have one fragment on 180, and the second one, say, on 120. Whoops, 120. And we're going to have a target prediction guidance and a 1-turn. It's unfortunate you have to use a target prediction and a 1-turn. I found that just having one often doesn't work. The target prediction will work if you've got radar, but it often does not turn the missile in the right direction at the first point. So, okay. 1 second delay for guidance. No, I need it quicker than that. 0.4 delay. Arming delay 2 seconds, that's fine. Now, thrust, ramp up time. We're going to have this. This is going to be a long range missile, so it can have a fairly high ramp up, which means after it's been ejected, it will take a little while to speed up, and we'll send it about 800. Right, let's see how that performs. We'll put it on number 1 again. Where's the can't find it. Where's it gone? Where's it gone? Where's it gone? It's down here. Controller on 1. No accuracy required. Let's see how far these go. No, I didn't unset the other controller. There we go. Try it again. There we go. 4 missiles. One of those didn't seem to take off very well. That's what happens. Occasionally one gets sort of stuck. Okay, they all launched okay, which is a good thing, but why did that one stick? There's ejectors on all of them. Okay, let's wait for that to reload. Obviously these will take longer to reload, obviously. Right, let's try it again and then check the range and speed. So turned okay, distance from launch pad, speeds, launch pad 300, so I would say 500 is the minimum. It's getting up to 110, that's not too bad. So about 2,000 meters I think will be adequate for this. But it's only to fire at larger targets, I think. So what we'll set, we'll take this off of that controller, and then I want this to have minimum range so it doesn't compete with the other one just below, so 700, because the other one will start firing at 800 and it goes out to 2,000. Right, air vehicles definitely, so only have it that's set to at 30, definitely 30 is fine. Maximum altitude, yeah, about 700, don't want things going for things in space. Maximum speed, not worried about. Now, minimum number of blocks, so largish flying vessels, let's say 500 blocks, so the smallest dusters and things like that, most really won't try and go for. Okay, yes, I like that. That's okay. So now for the long-range bombardment missiles, let's call them for the want of a better, or proton missiles. I'm sure we can come up with lots of names for them, but they're going to be rather large. Now I want them covered, so I'll do that as a separate element, in that they'll only be available and fire when they are needed. So I'm going to do a piston, and we'll look at pistons in a bit once I've done the basic missile first, I think. So we've got a long missile here, quite a large bay, which is good. Now we don't want to take it down all the way, so we'll set up a little area, say about here. Now what I'm thinking of doing is, we've got room for 6, but I'm going to do a cluster, a group of 4, I think. Let's see how that will look. Helps if I put the mirror line on first. Now these are going to be quite long, and they're all going to need multiple connectors. So, now I can do, or I could do all 12. That'd be interesting. It's a possibility, but I'm going to try a cluster of 2 4s, so get 8 missiles in total. So the way I'm doing it, I'm thinking here, how can I do this? Well, that's obviously how that's got to go, and connectors underneath. And now the ejectors, and we're going to put 2 ejectors on each. Yeah, I can't because of that there. I can only get 1 ejector per missile. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. We're going to have to run with that. I was hoping to get 2 ejectors per missile, but I could only do that on the outside, but I need them all to be very similar, so let's not complicate matters. And we'll bring that through here for the AI. Potentially actually through to there. Okay, so we may be able to close off some of this section here for protection. I do like to have it so you can see them, but it's sort of protected in a way. There we go. Right, now let's just see how big these missiles are going to be. So we've got 8 of them. Which way shall I face them? I will face them forward. Seven. It's only 7 actually. I was expecting a bit bigger. I was hoping for a bit bigger. I was hoping for a big missile there. Options are take them down, but no. We'll stick with 7 and just make it long. I was hoping for an 8 block missile, but 7 will do. 7's still pretty big. Yeah, you can't say a 7 block missile is small. Right, I will sort out some of these areas in a minute. Let's get these missiles working. So, going through usual, friendly fire, staggered. Now, actually, I want multiple staggers. I want a good delay here. So I'm going to put a couple more down here. Okay, then we'll put the controller in, because these are quite long and large. If one explodes, we don't want it knocking the other one off course, so we want a good delay. Now the thing with missiles is, even if you go slow with if you go slowly with a missile, people say, oh, you know, it's easy to intercept a missile. Well, the slower it's not necessarily true. The slower the missile, the closer it gets intercepted. We'll have a look at that in a second, what I mean by that. Now this will be on number 1, not number channel 2. Okay, let's see what missile we can make here. So what I was saying about the speed, at the moment it doesn't show anything, so we will be having a variable speed. And ramp up time is going to be quite large, and speed is going to be very low. Warhead arming delay very high, because we don't want it blowing up in the ramp by accident. And we'll give it 1 second before it starts to turn. Now fins, we'll try 1, but I've got a feeling we're going to need more than 1. Right. This will use a radar, and it's going to be against stationary targets, so I don't think I need a target prediction. We will use a 1 turn, just Yeah, I'm just trying to think here. One turn, don't need a one turn if we are using radar. Now we don't use a lot of explosives here because this is against stationary targets, and some frags. Now I'm going to use a proximity. Now one of the advantages of a proximity is any of the explosives that are attached effectively burst very close to where the proximity touches. So I've set that to a 90-degree angle to make sure it hits at 5 meters. Yep, so that will go through there. Let's see if that will work and turn. One thing is, will it turn before it goes up into space? Bigger the missile, the more it has to do to turn. But I think this will be okay. Let's say it's aiming at a target over there. No, hasn't turned in time, you'll fear. These are going up into space because they can't turn. Okay, redesign. So they either need, or they need that one turn. It's because there's no radar target for them while I'm testing. The active radar hasn't actually locked onto anything. So I'm gonna need the one turn, which is annoying because that's using up another space. Okay, we'll put the one turn there. Now let's try it, and we might be able to exchange something for that. Right, we'll aim down there. This time, will it turn in time? Take that one on board. Yes, it turned at about 500 meters. Let's see how much fuel and distance it gets. Speed is still reasonable. We're not hyper slow here. I've done a lot slower missiles. But I do want good range on this, so we might have to reduce the speed further. And we've reached the limit of the timer at 3,000 meters. So we may need a regulator. So we either have a regulator or increase the speed to get further in 30 seconds. Okay, let's see how far we can get in 30 seconds. I think it will be about the same, but let's see. Right, we can go a little faster in the time frame we have available. So we'll try 800 and see what comes first. That one a little slower actually, because we ran out of fuel before we'd hit the 30 seconds. So we'll try 600 and see if that gets closer. And on the right hand side is the bit about missile detectability. So this would get detected at 600 meters, and at the velocity of 100 meters a second means they get 6 seconds to take the missile out effectively. Slower missiles have a shorter detectability, which means they still only have 6 seconds. So it doesn't make a difference or make it easier if the missile is any particular slower or faster. Okay, that ran out before it got to time, and it was about 4,300, which isn't bad actually. We'll just try an in-between value and just see if we can get it to just run out of fuel before it gets to the end. Alright, we'll make sure that they're all fired and aiming in the right direction. And then we'll take control. Looks okay. A little high, but yeah, that's fine. Keep an eye on the fuel. So the fuel run out and then it hit, so 4,000 meters. Okay, I'm okay with that. That's 4,000. We'll set it at a range of 3,800, I think. So here, we'll first of all remove that block here. Let's change it so it doesn't start shooting. Where are we? Let's change to that. It's always a better. Staggered controller. Set that to all. So although it's got a range of 4,000, we'll assume it's not going to get that far. Minimum range, I don't want this shooting if something's less than 2,000. And maximum will be 3,800. So it's got a fairly limited aspect. Number of blocks, it's got to be a large vessel or building, and it's got to be pretty slow. 15 should do. Altitude, it's not going to fire at flying objects in general unless they're very slow and big, and the same with things below the surface. Okay, so that's given it quite a range. Okay, now I think we need a cover. So when these are not to be used, i.e. the enemy is either too close or too far away, possibly too close. If enemy gets close, I think even small enemy, this will close up. Now what I'm going to use is a piston. So what I will add in is a new object. And we're going to look at the telescopic piston, a 1 meter piston, and we're going to point it that way in here. So let's put us on the side, which is fine. That's expected. Now, one thing we got to allow, we got to go over, and at the moment that's going to hit. So I'm going to have to take out that block there, I think, to use as our starting point. So let's just come off there for a second, because at the moment if I push that piston forward, has it got, oh no, it's got a gap in there, that's fine. So but we're still going to have to take that out, and we're going to use this here. So we take back over, and then we put, this is the closed position, and we're going to then put a metal beam out, which is going to be there. Oh, sorry, this is the open position, so that's going to cover that downslope. Then 2, 3. So we cover like that. We come off of it now. So this is it's fairly simple cover. We're just going to put some control blocks in here, one either side. So now we're going to manually do it first. So basically, when we need to hide, for want of a better word, we will extend to 4 meters. That's a little far actually, so let's go down to 3 meters. There we go. So it extends to 3 meters. That's fine. That's good. Let's now what we'll need to do is work out how what actually. Let's get onto the piston again. There we go. So that's 3 out of 6. So 50% extension. So we'll put it back to 0 again. There we go. Out again. So what we'll say is, first of all, if the enemy range or no enemies, we open up. So if the enemy range is larger than 2000, the piston within 2 blocks of this, set piston extension to 0. So that's opened up as it is now. Now the opposite, if the enemy range gets below, say, 1,900, just allowing for any last minute shots to go out, then the piston within 2 meters, set the extension to 50%. So that'll be 50. So if we just do test, oops, the other one's taken control, so we'll disable this one for the moment and then test this one. So that closes it up. There we go. So pistons, nice as a practical demonstration of pistons. So if I just re-enable that one here, that will open it up again. And there we go. It would then be able to fire. Now I'll put some blocks in here, I think, just to act as cover, and then that should be working. The only I'm trying to think, there is no only, that generally should work. Although this ship does have a lot of armour, I think the next most important part is some more defences against especially missiles and torpedoes. So the back section of the ship at the moment is fairly much been left open, and I'm going to set that up to do basically defensive for missiles and torpedoes. So first of all, we'll look at a flare system. So I'm sure most of people have done flare systems. They're not that difficult. So basically it is a missile launcher. Now I'm going to make these quite in scale with the ship. These are going to be quite large. I'm trying to think of the right word again, as always. Flares. So we're going to have a little bit of a gap. Now you can do flares with just one gantry. They don't need more than one really, but I'm going to try doing 2 on these ones here. Now the only things we need is a stagger, so they launch relatively slowly, and then we're going to just put a controller in here. No, didn't. There we go. And then we just need a control block here. So okay, first of all, let's sort out our flares. So sticky flare, we want to make as much heat as possible. So what I tend to do is have a slight delay, and then the next one 1.5, then 3, and then 4.5. So that altered things. Now the other bit is we want it to go out at an angle. Now this is all going to depend on, takes a little bit of working out, I find. Let's see, I want this one to go left. Now hopefully if the connector's correct, this will go the right way, but I usually find this is a bit trial and error, so we'll try that. Hostile missile closer than say 500. Weapon systems within 2. Fire. Let's test it. So they seem to be going generally backwards. So that's, so left is obviously that way. So okay, let's just try up. Let's set that to 0, and now try to set it to up, we'll say up 60. Let's see how that goes. As I say, sometimes this is, I find this is very hit and miss on occasion. Basically, if I get the controller the right way round in the first place, it does help. Let's just try that. So if I set that way and go there, and just increase the range of that a little bit. I did say it to go up, so that is correct. Now we're trying to set this to left, which is minus 60 degrees, and that to 0. Let's try that again. Well, one of them didn't go out, which is a bit of a problem. So it hit the... Had this before. Sometimes the ejectors just don't seem to be working. Let's just... Because that just did not eject at all. These should get thrown up quite considerably. Let's test it again. Right, still trying to throw it backwards. So, okay, let's just go back to 0. So these should just go straight up. Okay. Let's now just make a slight upward based upon this of 10 degrees. So, up 10 degrees. So, based upon the angle of the gantry. And that generally went okay. So if we set that now angle to be a little bit more, so we'll say 30. Now one did bump on the way out, but could be, there we go, up 30 degrees, fired them all out. That's going to be quite a big heat source for any incoming. Now we'll do the same on the other side. So that's the flare system, but I would like to have a slightly longer range interception system. So what we'll do is we'll set up in this other little gap here is some interceptor missiles. Now these need to be a little bit longer in general than the flares, because they do have to have fins and control inside them. So we will set them maybe all on the same controller and ACB here. That could work. Yeah. We'll have them quite a high stagger, so okay, that there, we will need ejectors. And now the gantry, we have them all facing backwards, so how, 2, 3. We don't need these to be very big. I'll change that block. I think I'll make that a beam. There we go, looks better. So these haven't got to be very large. Let's put the controller in. And we do want them staggered. We don't need friendly fire because they won't work with friendly fire. We just need a controller. And I'm going to put a couple of 2 staggers in. We'll try just over half a second delay. I actually put an extra stagger in on the flares as well, just to give them a little bit more of a gap between the flares. Okay, now we need the controller, which is going to control when these go off. So now these will be a lot longer range. So if hostile missile seen within, say, 1,500 meters, because we'll get them as they're coming in. So even though it only has a range of, say, 1,000, that's the interception point. Weapon system fire. Now I've got to go and build the missile. So I have got some saved, but we'll go through a build. So couple of ways, not connected to a launch pad. You should be. Have I done that the wrong way round? That's because I've put those on the wrong things, dull. Let's try that again, shall we? Put that there. Hostile missile closer than 1,500 in a range of 3. Weapon system, fire weapons. Okay, sort that out in a minute. Let's go back here. That looks better. Okay. So, short range thruster, fine. Now you can use variable as well. But okay, primary parts on this is the missile interceptor. Now there's two ways: make it fast or make it maneuver. I like making my systems very maneuverable, and also put a sticky flare on them that is will take a little while before it goes off. So waits 5 seconds. And the short range thruster, or we can use a variable thruster. We use a variable with a 5-second delay, and we're going to just, because it's done an intercept, I think 800 should be enough. 1 guidance delay straight away. We'll try that as a, so this is going to be very agile. Let's find the control block. There's no missiles out there at the moment. You see how they fairly quickly go start firing out there, and they last a reasonable time. I think that the sticky flare could be a bit quicker. So we'll change the sticky flare from 5 seconds to be 3 seconds. So the idea of the sticky flare is that once it's out there, that will attract the missiles towards it if they're infrared. So that will help it to target any enemy flares coming in, because they'll actually head towards the missile at the same time. Now I can look at what the ones I'd made previously. If I load one of my missile interceptors, they're only 2 block missiles actually, those missile interceptors, whereas these are 3 block missiles. Okay, yeah, in the past I had built ones which were even simpler, but here we've got quite an advanced one here, so this is a little bit better considering it's a bigger ship. Anyway, we'll give them a test and see how they go against the missiles. We'll find something which is missile firing to come against it and see if it intercepts them okay. Let's give it, as always, a little bit of cover to some of the components. So now we've got anti-torpedo system, which again is a missile. Now there's 2 things we need. Well, 2 things. There is something we need first, and that is detection of sonar-based missiles. Now what we can do is on the keel here is put a little connector in with a receiver. We'll just cover it up a little bit. There we go. And then on the end of it we put a passive sonar. And the passive sonar should allow it to detect. We need some more power for our computer or AI. Okay, do that in a bit. It will allow us to detect missiles which are using, or torpedoes which are using sonar. So and that's in most areas. I'll sort out the mainframe in a minute. So we go down here. Now I've made a little bit of a, whoops, that's not the one that's not the block I wanted to take. There we go. Make sure that looks okay. I think I will put yeah, no, that's in keeping with it. That's fine. Sorry. Okay. Now, missile interceptors need to be about 3 blocks, so we'll start them just here. Launch pad. Have them launch out the side with an ejector. And now we'll put the gantry in there. And the connectors. And now finally we have the controller, and I say finally, and it's not finally, because I need a staggered as well, because I like to make sure that they don't all go off at the same time. And then the control block, which is finally. So now these can go, any missile is further than 1500. Range 2, weapon system, fire. We will do that in a second. We'll set this as well. Hostile missile closer than 1500. Range 2. Now these are quite ammo intensive, to be honest. A missile, you know, a laser system is generally less intensive, and also the guns, because it only shoots when there is definitely a target inbounds. But torpedoes are dangerous, so I prefer to just launch lots of interceptors than not have any at all. So okay, here what we need to do is, first of all, we need an interceptor. We also need a torpedo propeller, 1 fin, and a fuel tank. Now, as far as other parts go, we can either make these quite agile or quite fast. I've done different systems before. Agile I like. We'll put them like that. We only ever need 1 fuel tank. And the other bit you'll need is a ballast tank, because you don't know exactly what range what height the torpedo's coming in at. So that's a basic torpedo interceptor. Now you can either, one thing I could do here is I can either make these ones slightly different. Don't have to duplicate it both sides. We haven't got to worry about 1 turns or things like that, so which is always handy. Right, okay, so I know I need the ballast. Where's the missile interceptor? There we go. Now this one will have a fuel tank again, and we'll have 1 fin, but what we could do is put 2 torpedo propellers on there. Now what this means, this will intercept very quickly. So we've got 1 set which will be agile and 1 set which will be quick. So if one type doesn't get it, the other one hopefully will. So if we just do a test, they go out and they will go and hunt out. Now we'll have to test against some torpedoes, find a target which is going to launch torpedoes at us, and make sure it works. Okay, I'm just going to put some blocks in here as always, just to protect it.